week's edition of the DC Life. I'm your host, Sal Mika. I got my co-host, Micah Franco from CageMinds.com. And we're inside the Fight Shop, New Mexico, on Coors de Montano in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Micah, how are you doing after this Easter weekend that just happened?
There were really not that many fights, only a Legacy 52. You can get the quick results from the main card up at CageMinds.com. Matt Schnell calling out Damasio Page. They're going to battle for that Legacy flyweight title. Schnell with a first-round victory. Other than that, pretty relaxing weekend.
Yeah, it was real chill for me. Found out that Batman does the same workouts that I do in prepping for Superman over the weekend, watching Batman Superman versus Superman. And before he battled with Superman, so I feel pretty good, man. I mean, I'm in there working out, and I'm saying, you know what? If the workouts that I do are good enough for Batman to fight Superman, they're good enough for me and my jiu-jitsu practice. So it was an uneventful weekend. I mean, the UFC cuts Rafael Feijoa. What's your thoughts on that?
Feijoa didn't look like he wanted to fight in his last fight anyway. You never failed the drug test. But there was a different Feijoa from Strikeforce to the UFC. Something was up with that. Good luck to him in the future. He's gone. Also, tough Brazil finalist from the first season, Daniel Sarafian. He's also gone. He took some heavy shots, got knocked out a bunch. Both of them, good luck in the future. But I figure they're going to both be in Brazil fighting next.
Brazil or Feijoa may go. You know, he was part of Strikeforce at one point. Has a good relationship with Scott Coker. I'm sure, you know, may see a crossover there. You never know. You never know. I mean, I know Bellator can't bring everybody across that gets cut by the UFC, nor would they want to. They do have talented fighters. They just got to start showcasing them more and more and quit with the freak shows a little bit. Now's the time.
Freak shows. We never talked about, did we, that the freak shows both tested positive for steroids?
No, that happened last week. We had a really busy week last week with the interviews. You were an interview machine last week. So, yeah, I mean, the Shamrock tested for steroids. Kimbo tested for steroids. Speaking of Kimbo, baby Kimbo even fought. Kimbo. Did you see him?
First round knockout.
Yeah.
Kimbo, hey, he's growing up around this, and by the age he is, he's at least seeing his father do it in the right way, so he has all the ties to American Top Team and those big-time trainers. So I see a big future for Junior, possibly, while Papa keeps just spearing crap along the family name right now.
Hey, you know, he's making his money. He secured a future for his family. You can't be mad at the man. Kevin Ferguson, Kimbo Slice. What is disappointing is the steroid situation.
That's what I'm mad about.
Happened. Yeah, I mean, he's been in this long enough, and so has Shamrock, but there's no surprise on that end.
There's no surprise on Shamrock. Looking at me, Kimbo, it's disappointing in like 3 factors. You and Dutta were fighting for who's the realist, and you're going to cheat. You're fighting for the hood, and you're going to grapple. And you're going to grapple and cheat on this huge stage. I mean, it was just deplorable in 3 ways of it. I mean, you don't stand there and bang. You cheat of all, and then you go the technical martial artist route. If you're gonna cheat, at least stand there and bang.
You know he didn't fight for the hood. He fought for the green. And I'm talking about the money. It's all about the money. It's
How
all
much
about
is the fine, though, going to cost, you think?
We'll see. You know, the key was it's in Texas. And let me tell you, that athletic commission is funny business all the way around. And let's just say pockets can possibly be lined in order for it to be a little smaller fine.
So are you kind of saying this could have been pre-thought out by Scott Coker, that he knows of what commission goes light on people and putting, you know, the most dangerous factors of failing those tests in a light commission?
Look, I've moved around different commissions, and we have somewhat of a light commission here in New Mexico as well, and in Milwaukee. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, but I'm not saying that they're taking anything. But at the same time, I know, and I've dealt with Texas commission personally, and they you know, any promoter that has been around as long as Scott Coker knows what commissions allow what and how much give and take that each athletic commission will allow for the moment, for the TV, for the spotlight, and it's an interesting time. We'll see what happens.
If I was less, I could not be less looking forward to another Bellator Legends Division announcement now than this. I was already down on it. I couldn't be any more down on it after two of them do this.
Sure, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm hoping we see something more of like a Fedor in the cage. Let's market Matt Mitrione now that he's over at Bellator. I know we didn't ever touch on that, but he signed with them. You know, let's market these guys that are marketable. Let's get those 6 figures in viewership or higher. You know, I think it's going to be mid 6 figures viewership wise, and let's continue to grow from there and make solid advancements. Let's stop with the guys that are old and crusted and basically shooting up in the bathroom just to get in the cage.
The Matt Mitrione signing, I do love it. I just sit back and I don't know where we set him in their heavyweight division. Their marquee heavyweights, we'll call them marquee, it's Czech Congo and it's Bobby Lashley. Those are the two guys they've used the badunk out of. There's also Tony Johnson now. Supposedly Vitaly Minakov, who prefers to fight in Russia, but Bellator, whatever with his situation. Supposedly this year we're looking at him returning to the Bellator cage, and then you throw Matt Mitrione into the mix and the possibility of Fedor. So I don't know if we're saying they have a top 5, top 6, but they got a couple matchups that could happen.
They got good fun matchups, and that's what I mean, with meaningful fighters, and that's the key. And then you gotta start showcasing your main guys. You gotta start highlighting these young talented guys and exposing them to the future, that they are the future of the sport and the future of that organization, and start making noise, start drumming up noise. Just like Gil Melendez, he worked his way up in Strikeforce, and it's no secret for Scott. Because look, Gil Melendez worked his way up. Eddie Alvarez worked his way up through Bellator, and then he ended up in the UFC. Gil Melendez got a huge contract based on the fact that they were battling for him, Bellator and UFC, and he ended up going with the UFC.
Free agency has been interesting. And we can touch on that real quick. Matt Mitrione basically said there was no offer from the UFC.
Sure.
I think Benson Henderson said the same thing. Alistair Overeem re-signs with the UFC, mum's the word. Aljamain Sterling was like, no one else made a real offer besides the UFC. So it's just interesting to hear that we haven't even had, even though we keep talking about free agency, maybe Overeem because he's keeping quiet, there was a bidding war for, but outside of that, there hasn't been much bidding warness of this free agency market.
Oh, I think there was a big bidding war for All-Star. And this is just my opinion, because they have the Bellator MMA and the Bellator kickboxing that they can offer this guy, I'm pretty sure there was a bidding war. And the UFC didn't want to lose him. There's no way. What's interesting about Overeem now is Overeem versus Arlovsky. Arlovsky is not happy with him. He's publicly stated that he don't give a shit. If he's going to train in the morning, he's going to train in the morning. If he needs to train in the midday, he'll train at midday. If he needs to train at night, he's going to train at night, and all the coaches are with him. Now, All the Stars here in Albuquerque, he stopped into the fight shop in New Mexico, got some gear and whatnot, got a couple T-shirts, and moved it along. So he's here. He's here. It's interesting. Who's he training with? Because I hear all the top dogs, and it came out of Arlovsky's mouth recently. He's got John Jones. He's got all these different guys that are in the UFC that are the big guys training with them. So who's coaching All-Star? Did he really ever even come in fully embracing the team, or did he just come to train here and he brought in his own camp, basically?
I don't know what to say about all that. I can tell you from my personal experience last week, on my Instagram, you can see I was at Jackson Wink MMA. When I was there, I did not see them training, but Cody East, Huggy Bear, Chris Barnett, John Jones, Andre Arlovsky were all there. So it starts leaving you thinking, who's there later to work with Overeem?
Well, again, Arlovsky even stated, he said the gym is 100% open to him. There is no bullshit, and he said it. He goes, there's no bullshit to that. If he wants to train at night, he's going to train at night. If he wants to train during the day, he's going to train during the day. There's no set handshake saying, oh, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, and the two paths will never cross until we get to the UFC fight. So it's an interesting dynamic. It's very, very weird, especially what we saw with Rashad Evans and John Jones a few years ago. That really messed up a lot of relationships. I know it tore the gym up a little bit inside. You know, guys were having to pick sides, and you had some old school guys going with Rashad. You had the new school going with John Jones, and it had to have been a rough situation and a rough time. I know it was. I know it had to hurt the coaches too. I mean, you got guys. You got a guy in Rashad who's been with you since Ultimate Fighter 2, and to see it split like that, and then you saw Shane Carwin, you saw Brendan Schaub. They kind of faded away and went back to Colorado. Nathan Marquardt, you saw him kind of fade back and go back. You saw even Rashad go out to Colorado for a little bit during that time. You know, so it's an interesting aspect to have. It's something the team is aware of, I guess, for this time around. But it's going to be interesting come their fight.
It's an interesting dynamic to deal with, and we get to see it firsthand here being in New Mexico. I mean, at heavyweight, again, we name 4 or 5 guys that are there, and we all keep talking about John Jones moving up in weight class. Well, that would put us with 4 guys from one gym in one division in the UFC in a lackluster division depth-wise. I mean, that's the same thing with thinking that John Dotson's there training with Joby Sanchez. We've both seen them in the octagon. I mean, with one of these big gyms, and same thing has to be happening for American Top Team. Oh, Robbie Lawler, Hector Lombard, Tyrone Woodley were all at 170, even Ben Saunders. This is a super camp problem. American Top Team, Jackson's Winks, you have this kind of problem. The Black Zillions, you get these big, huge teams where they recruit everybody and they bring these guys in, and yes, iron sharpens iron, but it gets to that point where you're having to avoid guys. I mean, same thing starting to happen in California, the Black House, Kings MMA, a.k.a. avoided it with Cormier dropping the 205, thankfully, and moving out of Cain Velasquez's way. But not everyone is so lucky. I mean, here we said if a guy drops a weight class, there's 5 to 10 other guys in that weight class. You go to that gym, and it's star-studded for a reason. Also, we had the news with Shogun Rua being injured. Rashad Evans is going to be fighting Glover Teixeira April 16th. It's also kind of funny because coincidentally they're like a week later. Shogun's cool enough, though, that he's going to fight a couple weeks later, May 14th, about 4 weeks later. He had an injury. We already signed a new fight, but he's ready to fight 4 weeks later. Going to take on Corey Anderson in Brazil. That's UFC 198, and I love this card. I mean, World Heavyweight title fight. Verdum versus Stipe Miocic. You got Anderson Silva, Uriah Hall. You've got Vitor Belfort and Jacare. And then in her hometown, making her octagon debut
at 140 pounds.
Catch weight. It's like, I feel like we're staying in practice and we're at Allen Iverson. Catch weight? Catch weight, yes. Practice. Cyborg. Christina, Cyborg, Justino, the Invicta featherweight champion, so you can drop down 5 pounds and take on former title challenger Leslie, I think it's Peacemaker Smith.
I don't know.
There's not going to be much peace made in this fight, but Cyborg in the octagon. The rumors are true, and I'm oh so ever disappointed because I thought everything was leading to the announcement that this was going to be Kat Zingano.
Yeah, that's what I thought, you know, and that's exactly what I was just about to say is I thought it was going to be Cyborg versus Kat Zingano. I understand why they didn't do it because they could make that fight at 135 if she's successful enough to do the 140 and make the weight. She's going to blow through Leslie Smith. So, I mean, unless Leslie lands eyes closed, overhand right, haymaker to the chin, and just on the button puts her to sleep, I say this fight lasts 2 minutes, max.
It's interesting, though. Octagon debut. Hometown. If Smith can make it out of 1 round with the biggest weight cut that Cyborg has ever been in, if it goes past 1, it could go 5. That being said, I'm not betting past the Cyborg first-round knockout. But you do see that there are those hindrances in the back that if we're all totally wrong and this shit's a huge upset, that would be the antidote that Cyborg blows her load too early.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Even if she does blow her load early and she has to take the minute rest in between rounds, she's going to be fine, and that'll be it. What do you think about the UFC 200? There's talks, and apparently it's going to happen. Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor, they're going to run it back. I keep thinking the holdup is the weight. That's just my opinion. I don't know anything about it, but I mean, looking from the outside in, I think the weight class is what's really holding this matchup up. I think if they're going to do it, they need to do it at 155. It'll be more of a story. They can spin it better, because at 170, it's going to be more of the same.
Diaz says he's good to fight at 70. Oh, and we were talking about blowing their load real quick. And in a side note to that, also I saw Hector Lombard moving back up to 185. Blows his load way too quick, even at welterweight, cutting too much weight, too muscular. But back onto topic of what you were asking me about Sal Diaz, McGregor, I think that it should be at 55. But when was the last time Diaz made 55? Even though he's there saying it, when did he make it? And I feel that there's the downfall of Conor McGregor is upon us because his ego is getting in the way, and he may even be going back and forth. No, I want to fight him at 50. No, I want to fight him at 75. Because I want to make him fight him at 70, and I want to make a statement that I can beat him there. Diaz said, I saw every shot coming. None of them hurt me. It's hard to see a rematch playing any other way due to egos. Weight class, this is some weird boxing bicker-a-brack, I believe. I don't know what to say. It should be at 55. We saw Diaz is not a 70. If he wants to go fight at 70, there's other fights for him to take at 70.
Yeah, I think it should be. I mean, heck, even make it 160. If Nate can't go that far down, at least you'll have something to spin saying, hey, he has to actually cut a little bit. He's not going to walk in at 170, walking around weight. You know, he has more of a chance now. Because you give Nate a full camp, he's going to beat the shit out of him. He's going to put it on him worse than he did. He was coming literally. Did you see the Instagram post that Gil Melendez put up? They were on a freaking yacht drinking when they got the call. Again, let me repeat that. They were on a yacht drinking, having a good time, probably having some extracurricular smoking activity done, and that's when they got the call. So you're telling me this guy's training? He's probably teaching classes. He's probably rolling, but he's not in fight shape. When he takes the fight and he mauls him like that, mauls him, puts him out, chokes him out, hooks him up, taps him out, sends him home. Now we got memes of him running around in the little kids' classes for BJJ all over our social media handles. You see it.
Next to Cat Williams.
Next to Cat Williams, man. The Cat, don't be messing around with them little kids. Them 8th graders will mop you up. I got a little 13-year-old son that'll throw you on your freaking head. You ever slap him like that, and then you got to deal with me. That dude's another crazy situation all in its own. What do you think about New York and them legalizing marijuana? No. Mixed martial arts.
About time. Took forever. Way too long. You could do everything. You could wrestle. You could do jiu-jitsu, judoka tournaments, karate tournaments, kickboxing, but you couldn't do them all together. So it's just about time. It's the Mecca. Let's see something at MSG. Let's see something at Barclays. I can't wait.
Who would you match up with? Who would be your dream match? Main event, first UFC, because yeah, Bellator's going to Barclays. I guess they're signed to deal with them or something. There's some talk that they're going to go there. And which is fine. Brooklyn, go for it. And then the UFC is going to Madison Square Garden, the big room, not these little theaters. Who would you put in the main event?
It's going to be John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. John Jones going to be the first fighter to claim 2 titles at one time in the UFC. He's going to do what Conor McGregor couldn't.
You think that's what it's going to be?
It's what it's going to be. Miocic will beat Verdum in Brazil. and then he's going to lose the title in his first defense against John Jones in Madison Square Garden. November, December, somewhere around there, with the co-main event of Chris Weidman against possibly Jacare or Vitor Belfort.
And I think it's going to be the return of Ronda Rousey as the co-main event. I really do. I don't know who she'll go against, whether it'll be Misha or whether it'll be Holly, because either or will be fine. I don't think it hurt Holly as much as ever, and we'll touch on this before we go to break, and I know you got a interview coming up. But I think that's if it is John Jones as the main event, it's kind of weird, though, because John is from upstate New York. That's not really Madison Square Garden. That's, it's not like Rio Rancho Albuquerque where you can just say you're Albuquerque. That's not the way it works. So it would be interesting. I'd like to see Frankie Edgar get his title shot there against Conor McGregor. Chris Weidman, I don't think he's going to get past Luke.
One other thing, if it's not John Jones, Diaz beats McGregor a second time, and then they go with the big money fight. George comes back, and it's GSP Diaz in MSG.
GSP Anderson Silva.
I don't know if we ever get that one. I still don't play with my heart like that. I can't even talk about that.
Well, that would be an interesting match because they both probably are shot fighters by now. GSP, I'm assuming, is a shot fighter in the sense of you're never going to get back to the very top. Let's make one fun fight, send you off, GSP's return, make it at middleweight, and let him fight Anderson Silva.
It all depends what happens at UFC 198 against Uriah Hall before I know what to think of Silva. Because if he's that shot, he's going to get knocked out by the faster fighter. If he's not shot, he schools this kid.
I think he does get his ass handed to him out there for that fight. I mean, you're basically putting him in with himself, younger, a little bit stronger at this time, and faster.
Uriah Hall, I don't know if he's mentally strong enough. We've seen him crack before. That crowd, that building, that man standing in front of you, I don't know if he can pull the trigger or if he gets statuized.
We're going to take a quick break. Your interview is coming up next with...
We've got a special interview coming up. We're going to get inside. It's fight week for Southwest Brawl 3, Las Cruces Convention Center. Get ready this Saturday. We got details on that coming up. ISP. That's International Strategic Partners. When you think protection in New Mexico, you should think ISP, not your everyday security company. Offering background checks, self-defense courses, handgun, firearm licensing, and a plethora of security, patrol, and investigation options. Call us at 505-255-6063. That's 505-255-6063. 6063 or online at callisp.com.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
The DC Life Uncensored is back. Right now, as we said, we're going to break down Southwest Brawl 3. Burras Jimenez joins us, Vice President of Operations with the event. Thank you for the time, sir. How's it going? It's fight week. I'm sure it's busy.
Pretty good, man. Can't complain. We're pretty excited and ready to get this show on the road, man. We hope all the fighters are ready as well, and we're ready down to the last days, and we hope everybody's ready for an awesome event.
Antonio Jones, Hector Ocha, what does that main event bring?
It's going to bring very good excitement. Hopefully one of the fight of the nights. I'm sure we're going to have plenty of those. But, that's going to be bringing fireworks. Two tough fighters. We had Antonio Jones fight on our last card, and he fought tough. So it was a very, very exciting fight. So hopefully he does the same thing this time. He brings a fight.
And then Hector Ocha, he has some big show experience, WSOF vet. What does that mean, getting somebody like that on one of your guys' cards?
Oh, well, I mean, that's a big step for us. I mean, we're obviously doing something in the right direction to have somebody like him, want to participate with us, and get him on our card. I mean, he's gonna bring it too. So hopefully, it's a good fight. We picked the right two for the main event. So
co-main event, Mondo Montoya, he was going to take on Mondo Rivas. That's been changed. Marquise Jackson, who's up here training in Albuquerque, now stepping in. What are your thoughts on that co-main event?
Well, that's also, like I said, we got plenty of fireworks for April 2nd. Mondo Montoya also, he's a fighter. So is Maurice Jackson. So I mean, well, what do you expect from that? Two guys going head to head. I mean, somebody's getting knocked out at the end of the night.
And then one of the guys, I'm sure, selling a whole bunch of tickets for you guys, Randy McCarty. I love his ring entrance, taking on Sadaya Parker. If you guys don't know who Sadaya is, tremendous prospect out of Fit NHB. On the amateur side of the card, is there one fight that you've seen, Burras, that has really jumped out at you that you think could shine on that amateur side of the card?
The amateur side of the card, we got Benji Dueñas versus Danny Grotto. Danny Grotto's fighting out of Red Spider, and we got Benji Dueñas fighting out of Farmington. They'll be fighting for a 185 vacant title. I mean, that fight's supposed to bring some fireworks also, so let's see if it holds up to its potential. That's going to be a good one, though.
And then, from your guys' perspective, I know there's been some changes in the card. Letting people know, for a local promotion, how hard is it to put one of these events together, to get all these fighters together to make it happen?
Oh man, it's a headache. It's real tough. But I mean, as long as we keep holding our end of the part, we'll have fighters continuing to wanna work with us and fight under our event. As long as we hold up to our name, they'll hold up to their side. We shouldn't have any problems. But I mean, as this being our third event, it's been crazy. We're learning as we go, and we're just growing as the fighters grow. The same way we're growing with our events.
From Southwest Brawl 1 and 2, what were the biggest lessons learned that you guys were able to employ into this event to have things go smoother?
Just kind of having a little more extra fights at the beginning of your event. As you notice, all the fighters that fall out, that due to injuries, due to, unexpected sicknesses or stuff like that, really it's just having the backup of having more than enough fighters for the event. So when you come down to your last month, you're not scrambling looking for fighters, So that's what we learned from 1 and 2 so far. And like I said, we're still learning. We're still growing, and we're still, we're willing to learn. And the good thing is we're working with a lot of people around. We talk to a lot of people. It's a lot of word of mouth, Facebook, of course.
And then right now we got It's Fight Week. Where can people pick up tickets?
You guys can pick up tickets at Artemis at 604 South Solano, or you could also check out our website at eventbrite.com. You can grab some tickets online. We also got Ben Acosta and Johnny Gillen. They're also going to be fighting on our card also. And Ben Acosta's also out there from Albuquerque, I believe.
Up here at Albuquerque, chaining at the Jackson's Wink Camp. You can get a hold of him. So for the weigh-ins, on Friday, what's the when and the where?
The weigh-ins will be at the Las Cruces Convention Center at 7 o'clock.
And then Saturday, fight time, doors and fights begin?
The doors open at 6, the fight begins at 7, and we hope, everybody can come out and make it. Come out and support all your local fighters and, cheer them on. Let's back them up and let them be able to continue to put on a show and show you, show the crowd what they've learned, not just, they also enjoy fighting around their people, not just out of state. You know what I'm saying?
Having that hometown support, that roar of the crowd behind them.
Yeah, I mean, just more of the community. I mean, they're fighting for us. Not just for themselves. They need to be noticed. We need to get all these guys noticed. So I mean, if nobody's coming out and watching them fight, nobody has anything to talk about.
We're here to support. You want to get out and show it locally. These are the stars of tomorrow. They start off somewhere, and they need that local support to get to one of these bigger shows. We know it's Southwest Brawl 3. Any word, any expectations on Southwest Brawl 4?
Yes, we're already in the works. It's already in the process for July 30th. And then, we everything's be coming together. After this event, we'll be talking about Southwest Brawl 4 and 5. We got the Southwest 5 already in the works also for this year, too. So we got 3 other shows coming out, 2 other shows after this April 2nd event. So, like I said, we're here for the fighters. We just want to be here to hold the event so everybody can show what they got.
Big things happening. I got to thank you for the time. Everybody, again, Southwest Brawl 3 this weekend, Las Cruces, New Mexico, the Las Cruces Convention Center. Burras, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you. And the DC Life Uncensored will be back right after these messages.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
International Strategic Partners, not just another security company. Protection for home, business, and self, with background checks, self-defense courses, handgun, firearm licensing, security, and investigation services available. Contact ISP at 505-255-6063. That's 505-255-6063 or online at callisp.com.
Welcome back. This is the DC Life Uncensored. And Micah Frankel, you had Southwest Brawl's, operations manager on the line. Good interview. They got their event this weekend. Run down quickly the events that are going to be taking place, because we got a plethora
of activities for the audience this weekend.
Coming from 0 events really this past weekend, except for Andre Ward fighting on HBO, which, in my opinion, real quick, he is pound for pound the #1 boxer in the world. If Floyd decides to come back, they're 1-1A. That's my 2 cents on that. Micah, go ahead and take it away for this weekend coming up.
Well, this Friday, the kids, everybody love the kids. We're going to have the amateurs on display with Golden Glove Tournament. We have Southwest Brawl 3 going down in Las Cruces. We're going to have the Jacksons MMA Series 18, also Friday, Pueblo, Colorado. So let me get you that. We got Golden Gloves Boxing. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday here in Albuquerque. Pueblo, Colorado, also on Friday, has Jackson's MMA Series 18. Andreas Quintana, Javier Palacios, both up there at the top of that card. Saturday, a plethora of events, because you still got the Golden Gloves going on. You're going to have Southwest Brawl 3 down in Cruces. The Southwest Kickboxing Association, the SWAC, they have Montevalles Promotions also down south with an event. Route 66, Rumble on Route 66. Chevy Bridges, Conrad Padilla, Donald Sanchez, Frank Lester, Adrian Cruz, all with interviews at CageMinds.com. Go check it out on that card. It is a stacked and busy weekend. And then set your DVRs also if you need your national fix. WSOF, World Series of Fighting, 2 titles on the line, 185-pound title bout. We'll see Clifford Starks challenging David Branch, and in the co-main event, Yao Zeffirino and John Finch battle for the vacant welterweight title. So, a busy weekend. Get out, see your local events. Like I said, set your DVR if you really need to see the national event. We're going to have results on most of this up on CageMinds.com. I'm going to be busy.
And the key is, again, if you're local, support the local. I like what he said in the interview. Look, in order to make these guys stars of tomorrow, you have to support them today. And he didn't say it in that sense, but it's the truth. You know, you have to support these guys from the bottom, watch them, enjoy them, grow a fan base, win, lose, or draw, and pick that fighter, pick those fighters that you really like to watch, and go support them, show them. That's the way they get noticed to these bigger shows, whether it be RFA, World Series of Fighting, Bellator, UFC, ONE FC. This is the way they do it. You have to show them support locally, drum ups local, and then go national.
Or even if you can go to Ryzen and have a tag team grappling match.
Go do it.
I mean,
You know?
did we touch on that? Wanderlei Silva?
No.
Wanderlei Silva signs with Ryzen, and they're going to let him do a special tag team grappling match. Hideo Tekoro and Kazuchika Sakuraba are going to meet Wanderlei Silva and an opponent to be named. This event is also going to be co-promoted by New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I figured that. And what they're doing is they're reintroducing Wanderlei to the Japanese culture, the Japanese fans, and then they'll put him into the ring, I guess you can say, for their version of Ryzen for MMA purposes. But it's no different than what they did with Pride. You know,
It's fun.
A lot of the guys, and if you liked Pride back in the day, then you should love Ryzen. It shouldn't be shit talking at this point because that's expected. If you thought Pride was the very best of the best, well, guess what? Every single one of them have admitted that almost 95% of these guys were on steroids. A lot of the matches were predetermined. Even the UFC matches. Shame on me. I'm acting like a newbie right now. The mixed martial arts fights were predetermined. Some of them, you know, especially with the Japanese wrestling stars, the shoot fights and stuff. Like guys would take dives for it. It's public.
It was
information,
Pride. It was
Pride.
crazy. It was the Wild West of MMA and pro wrestling smashed together for adult entertainment.
It's interesting. Real quick, I wanted your opinion. I know it's happened a while back, but Holly Holm lost the title to Miesha Tate. Dana White goes on ESPN Radio, the national mothership TV show, Canelo and Rosillo, and he just bashes Lenny Fresquez. Fresquez is a homegrown local entrepreneur from New Mexico. Went to Valley High School, lives still in the North Valley. You know, owns Max Steak in the Rough. You know, and other entities that are businesses around town. Plus, he's Holly's manager. He's been in the boxing game for years. Had Danny Romero, Johnny Tapia, Frankie Archuleta, you name it, they've been under him. Keith Jardine has fought under him. Chris Luttrell has fought under him. You know, of course, Holly has fought under him. But he just bashed him, saying he's an old boxing manager. He hurt Holly more than he helped her, and I'm sure Holly didn't even know the situation that was going on behind the scenes. Holly goes out and gets on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, and she denies that, says that she knows everything that's going on, chose the fight. What's your thoughts on Dana White and Lenny Fresquez?
I think it's two pit bulls in a boardroom bickering over paperwork. They're both out for their own client's best interest. Dana White is looking out for the UFC. He's looking out for the rematch, the big money grab, what they could make out of parading Holly Holm around forever, and the second battle between her, Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm. That's what Dana White's arguing for. Lenny Fresquez is arguing for a Holly Holm that is out to fight, make her legacy, make her money, and as we all know, she wants to start a family. Eventually she wants out of the sport. She's not getting any younger. They were both arguing for what was right for their side. They were two pit bulls at that. Now that it was proven that Dana White's way of thinking would have led to more money, even though it would have led to more time on the shelf, because he feels he's right. He went from being a pit bull in the boardroom to a poodle or a chihuahua now with his tail up, yarping around, saying I was right and trying to make a big deal out of it. I don't believe that Holly could have spent her entire adult career, life, under the wing of Lenny Fresquez. For them to be family, for the moments I've seen them embrace personally, for him to dog her, for her to be on the out and out. people don't get it. They are family. They've been together for so long. You know, that's his daughter, his niece, basically. He watches out for her. They're a cohesive unit. They went with the game plan. They played their hand. Like I said, Miesha Tate had a hell of a Hail Mary and got that takedown and that choke. They were proved wrong. It's back to the drawing board, and they're ready to fight again. That's what she does. They're not into this waiting for rematches, playing the promotion game. Holly sat around enough time waiting. She was furious after the broken arm at Legacy that it postponed her UFC debut for so long. She's a fighter. She wants to fight, and she wants to get done with her career. Both sides feel that they had their reasoning. Dana White feels that he was right. He's a rare now.
You know what's funny is Dana and Fresquez had their issues, and then it was Holly's never going to be fighting in the UFC. Then Lorenzo Fertitta has to step in and have the meeting with Mr. Fresquez, and all of a sudden Holly's making her UFC debut. It's very, very interesting on how things work. I think Lenny's done a fantastic job in terms of Holly Holm, the business of Holly Holm. And I think you're 100% right when you say that it's very hard to fathom the idea that Holly is going in this blindly and just saying, oh, just handle it. Because I've dealt with all three of them when it comes to negotiating contracts for Bellator. And I'll publicly state that. I was in the meeting when he hung up on all of us, Lenny Fresquez, for Bellator. The first time we started talking to him. You know, he was like, Holly demands this, this, and this. Mike Winklejohn was on the line, her coach, that's been her coach forever. And they basically hung up on us the very first time we talked. You know, then we worked a deal. We got it together. We figured it out. We got the numbers correct. And she fought in Bellator for the first time. Then she moved on to Legacy. And then she moved on to the UFC. So I don't think she's out of the loop at all. Ever.
At some point, Dana White, the older he gets, the longer he's in this game, the more of just a gas bag he sounds like.
See, and that comes to my next point. I mean, now, and I've stated this, and now you're seeing a little bit more of it on the blogs, the national blogs and whatnot. I've told you for a couple weeks, and it's funny I say it, UFC's for sale. They have a for sale sign up. It might be an invisible for sale sign for most because it's billions. But I think what's going on is I think there from what I've heard, there's a Chinese equity firm that's going to buy it for a couple $2 billion. And what I think the sticking point is right now is I think they want Lorenzo Fertitta to run it. I really, really do. And I think Dana White will be out. I think he's shooting himself in the foot more and more. Now, granted, he's going to be having a nice chunk of retirement money, so who gives a shit at that point? You know, he'll do whatever he wants to do. But absolutely, I think that's going to happen. I think that's going to happen by the end of this year. I think you're going to see somebody come in and purchase it away from the Fertitta brothers and Dana White.
Sounds good. Like you said, as long as Joe Silva, Sean Selby, some of these behind-the-scenes people stay and the inner workings go, you never know. Maybe a fresh set of eyes comes in and figures out a way to get out of this ridiculous Reebok deal. I mean, to see the value in the guys and the prospects that they're losing from not wanting to deal with this business model. Maybe things change for the better. Maybe things get worse. But it would be hard for it to be completely ruined by a new owner that at least has the hindsight to keep people around.
Sure. I mean, maybe they could work a deal where Lorenzo Fertitta is the CFO, CEO, whatever you want to put his title as at that moment, you know, for a year. Subcontract him for a year. You got all the key players, the big boys that run the show daily in there and move forward from there. But I really believe that Dana White will be out pretty soon. I think he's getting more and more reckless, and I'd be really shocked. And I think it's going to be more pressure from the network, Fox, you know, than anything else. I think they're going to have more of an influence. Reebok will have more of an influence, especially when they're putting out that kind of money.
Whoever's going to buy it has to make one decision now. We keep talking about the UFC as the NFL of MMA. And they're going to have to decide real quick, are they the NFL of MMA or are they the boxing of MMA? Are we going with the title fights, the league, the structure, and the value of these weight classes? Are we going with boxing? We're talking about crossing divisions. We're talking about who's just the biggest money for Canelo Alvarez, for Floyd Mayweather, blinding weight classes, doing more of these catchweight fights. Are we heading towards boxing or are we heading towards football? That is what will be important to me.
Football, basketball. What will be another interesting thing and what will be important is what, we'll touch on this real quick and then we got to go. Will there be a players association, a union? Because all these others do. You have basketball that has the union, you have the football union, and let me tell you, they go to bat for the players. So if John Jones, let's just say he goes through all his stuff, well, union rep is right there. They're not, Dana White, Fertitta, they're not coming in to talk to him direct. He has a rep with him at all times. His manager is rep, and of course probably a lawyer, I would assume. And it'll probably be a lawyer from the union. So it's interesting how this business is growing, how quickly it's growing, and the way it's gonna blossom. Micah, anything else you want to touch on before we go?
This is the DC Life Uncensored. I'm really short on it this weekend, but join us at the Route 66 Casino if you can. If you're in the northern part of the state, we got Rumble on Route 66, great card. And if you're in the southern part of the state, Saturday night, I suggest you get down to Las Cruces Convention Center, Southwest Brawl 3. 2 great MMA events in one state, one night. It's special. Get out and support local. The stars of tomorrow blossoming in front of us today.
The DC Life Uncensored airs every week on CageMinds.com. It's recorded weekly inside the Fight Shop New Mexico at 6200 Coors Boulevard, Northwest, Suite A4 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then we also got to thank our sponsor,
International Strategic Partners. Contact them at callisp.com.
That's it for this week's edition. This is the DC Life.